Welcome to AMS Talks. I'm Rick Bacon, Chief Executive of Aqua Metrology Systems, and I'm joined today by Craig Douglas, General Manager of Brunswick Topsham Water District in Maine. Today we're going to be talking with Craig about the role of real-time water quality data and its value to Brunswick and Topsham, particularly in respect of managing trihalomethane. And Craig, when we first met, you were facing some pretty serious challenges because despite implementing best practices for managing trihalomethane, you were still getting laboratory results that were giving you concern because they suggested you were out of compliance with water quality regulations. Can you talk a bit about those challenges and how you went about addressing them?
Sure. I mean, like a lot of utilities, we were facing, decreasing water demand, and that really led to longer residence times in our distribution system. And we sat around the operations table together, looking at each other, seeing our quarterly THM samples increasing over time, and knowing we're basically, playing a game of roulette in terms of what numbers were showing up because it's only a quarterly sample. But we knew we had some issues building up, so we started turning water over, using bleeders. We looked at some system valving. But part of that plan was, let's get some online data, for THMs, and let's see, what's happening in the distribution system, what's happening at the treatment plant, and really start digging into why are the numbers so variable and why are they trending upwards, over the period of years.
Mm-hmm. And so you were using laboratories, right, for doing that sampling, but I guess there is a challenge around the frequency or the coverage of that sampling. Where was that sort of need for online coming from?
Certainly a challenge for the frequency because, in order to get a real good idea, what's happening, you really got to be looking at it, daily, if not hourly, for the THMs. And, that's where the online analyzer came into play for us because we wanted more data. And that data just really ended up making a big difference for us in terms of actually understanding, what were the sources of the problems. And when we made changes, how were those changes impacting our water quality? If we lowered the tank 5 feet, what was that impact? If we turned a bleeder up, what was the impact of turning that bleeder up? And, without a lot of data and feedback, we weren't going to know that.
Right. So, people talk about data, there's a big, and digitalization of water utilities, but of course, that it represents a pretty significant investment, right? And I'm the first to recognize that unless there is some form of return on that investment, water utilities are going to be resistant. It's great having the data, right? But where's the value? So maybe to share with some of our listeners who are utilities thinking about investing in online instrumentation, where did you see the ROI, if you like, coming from that investment?
Well, we were certainly getting close to a violation, and certainly there would be expenses associated with the violation, but we were also looking at treatment optimization. So we knew that inside the treatment plant, we were looking at some expenses, and we figured, why make changes without knowing what's happening in the system, especially when we had operational changes that we could make in the distribution system at a lower cost. The problem was we needed to quantify that because we were sitting, near a violation. So we wanted to have a level of comfort of, how are all these pieces interacting? And it's one of those things, once we made the jump to the online analyzer, our cost per sample dropped substantially because we were taking a lot more of them, getting more data, having a better understanding of all of these different changes, because there's a lot of ways to run a distribution system. What each one of those changes, positive or negative impact, and we were able to quantify that. So the ROI for us, happened really quickly because we were able to use some of the more cost-effective changes with minimal impact to our, budget, even though we had made the investment in the analyzer.
Yeah, it's very interesting that you describe it that way, because I think a lot of people think, well, if I'm going to get this data, I'm going to make big changes back at the plant, right? That's going to be my sledgehammer to a solution. But quite often, and you were talking about, your distribution network earlier and how changing demand, had changed the time water was spending in the distribution network before it gets consumed. There's quite a lot that can be done within the distribution network, right, to actually bring about improvement without having to spend a whole chunk of money getting there.
Exactly. And then as we've made incremental, and that was our first phase, was getting that buffer. And then we had a longer, the treatment plant is older. It's 40 years old. We knew we had some investments we needed to make. So we got ourselves, some room with the compliance, and then we were able to make some choices, piloting and using this online analyzer, dedicating it to some of the piloting, to further that. So as we went into production with some of these new treatment ideas, we'll be able to use that online analyzer, obviously back on the system again, and, see those results. But for us, it was, that was a magical return on investment that we hadn't even anticipated at the start. And,
Right.
more data, and it told us a lot more about the way our system's running.
Well, those are incredibly invaluable insights. We will certainly direct people to you who I'm sure will will want more deeper insights. But I think in terms of a very good summary of what you've been able to achieve, it's very, very valuable. So thank you so much for your time. And I look forward to getting together with you sometime soon.
Sounds good, and always willing to talk to anybody. So
thanks so much, Ray. Take good care. Bye for now.
Yep.